So if you didn't watch any of the ALGS or Apex Legends Global Series the other night, I'll catch you up to speed on why we need to talk about that, I guess, how it's important for this video, which is going to be about gold knockdown shields and why and kind of how they're getting changed, I guess. So the reason that we know about this is because there was one point during the series where a whole squad went down and the entire squad had self-res, and this guy, LG Shiv, had an absolute breakdown on stream, and I don't mean that in like a dramatic sense of the term. Like, he was up on his feet like yelling and cursing at Apex, telling them they need to remove this, mostly because he says it gives an unfair advantage to teams who have already lost, and it caters towards teams who need a little bit of extra help in the end game, which he doesn't really like, so that it should be more based on like positioning and gunplay and overall skill, rather than just having a shield at end game and being able to outlast somebody. And as I said previously, he was pretty mad about this. This clip is all over Twitter, so if you really want to see it, you can. I'm not going to play it here because that's not really what this video is about. This video is more about the response that it garnered from a developer named Josh Medina, who said that big changes were going to be coming for the knockdown shield soon. Now, to put a little context on the clip I was talking about, LG Shiv did not say that he wanted it totally removed from the game. He just wanted the ability to revive taken out of competitive Apex, so you can take that however you want, whether you think that's in ranked as well or just in like tournaments and global series matches. But this has brought an equal amount of backlash for him. A lot of people on Twitter have gone on like some pretty serious rants about how nobody cares about what competitive players want because the devs should be catering to casual players since they make most of the fan base. There are some people who are even going as far as to say that if the developers start to make changes and cater based on what competitive players are asking for, they will literally kill the game, like quote unquote what happened to Fortnite. So there's a pretty big disconnect. This is like the main thing that I've noticed from scrolling through hundreds of comments on this post, is that a majority of people don't really fully understand the competitive scene. And it's probably because they haven't watched it, and while I can't really fault them for that, because maybe, you know, they just don't want to watch it, or in my personal experience, the games do get a little bit boring after a while just because it's a lot of just sitting around up until the final circle. But it's more the fact that they still choose to voice their malicious opinion despite the fact that they don't really know how the competitive scene works. There are quite a few, I'd say probably close to 50 replies on this tweet saying, why don't you just use a finisher? Why don't you hit him with a thermite grenade? At this point in this video, there are 13 people left and 5 squads in the final circle. Like, I don't think anybody watching this, myself included, have ever been in an experience where there are 13 players left with about a minute left in the game. In fact, in most casual matches, the game's usually over by now. So what I mean by that is it's literally impossible to do a finisher in a competitive match at this level. So that's really out of the question. So I took to Twitter because I wanted to see what people were recommending, because a lot of people, even if they haven't seen this exact clip, have seen somewhere around, whether it be from iLoot Games or just their Twitter feed, that the knockdown shield is getting a little bit of a rework. And a majority of the people that I saw actually were talking about how they could buff self-revive, which I was a little confused about because nowhere in the actual statement from Josh Medina does it say that they're looking to buff it. It's more of a statement on how they're going to rework it, and so I'm assuming that means it's going to be getting a little bit of a nerf. However, a majority of the comments that I read were talking about how the bubble should totally cover the person like a full sphere before they start self-resing if they have gold, and like all that kind of crazy stuff. Now, personally, I think that that's actually not a bad idea. However, the devs would have to remove self-res if that was the case, and I wouldn't totally be opposed to that. Now, if people had a 500 damage bubble surrounding them, and like it was basically impossible for them to be killed, that's actually not a terrible thing. I'm in favor of that replacing self-res. However, I think in a more casual scene, self-res is actually kind of fun, although I definitely have had my fair share of frustrating losses because a majority of the players in the top 5 had self-res. And I know that's not just happened to me, that's definitely happened to a lot of people watching this, where you get down to top 5, top 3, and you kill everyone and nobody actually dies because they all have self-res. I had an endgame where 5 out of the 6 people had self-res, which was total madness. And I think that's what Shiv is getting at in this clip, because obviously in this exact sequence that's happening, his anger is being directed at the fact that all 3 of these people have knockdown shields on one team. But I'm sure in general, he's very frustrated with the fact that it's so difficult to pinpoint who exactly has the self-res, which I can definitely understand. So as I said previously, I don't really think that we're gonna have self-res after this, and if we do, it's definitely gonna take a little bit of a nerf. It's either gonna take longer or it's gonna be louder or something to that extent. Now, another thing that one of the pro players had suggested is that you can only use self-res if your teammates are still alive, which was really interesting to me. So you wouldn't be able to pull out super like crazy clutches anymore. If you went down and then you had 2 teammates up or 1 teammate up, you could do self-res, but if they go down as well, then you just flat out die, which I don't think is a terrible idea, but I think it kind of defeats the purpose of self-res, since really the main reason for why you have a self-revive is for clutch situations in case your teammates die. So those are my overall thoughts on this whole situation with Shiv and how he thinks they should remove these from tourneys, which I agree with. I don't have any problem with that. I don't play in tournaments, and this seems to be a sentiment that a lot of good pro players have, is that the self-revives are kind of ruining the competitive experience because it gives people a second chance that not everybody gets to have. So let me know what you guys think. As always, I will be down in the comments. I'm really interested to see what your opinions are on this. However, that's going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button on your way out, and don't forget to hit that red subscribe button if you want to join the club if you're not already. I do post every day of the week, but that's going to be it for me for right now. So until tomorrow, guys, take it easy.